Hello everyone! Our group will present about artificial blood. Before we start this presentation, let us introduce our group members.
The objectives of this study case are to identify what is blood cell and what it's made up from, to compare the effectiveness of artificial blood with real blood, to determine the pros and cons of artificial blood, and to determine how is the artificial blood is made.
Firstly, I will explain for introduction of blood. What is blood? Blood is a connective tissue and a specialized bodily fluid. Plasma, erythrocytes, leukocytes, and platelets are its four primary components. The protein on red blood cells are called antigens, such as the rhesus or Rh factor, are used to classify blood based on its blood type. The blood will be classified as type A, type B, type AB, or type O based on the type of antigen. More than 5 liters, 6 quarts of blood make up the normal adult human's body. Living cells receive oxygen and nutrition from blood, which also remove waste from them. Additionally, it includes platelets that can patch a broken blood artery to stop blood loss and distributes immune cells to combat infections. The circulation, which transports blood through the organs that control the concentration of its constituent parts, makes the blood's consistency and composition possible.
What is artificial blood and its purpose? Artificial blood is a substitute for the red blood cells in the body. The use of artificial blood is meant to take the place of transfusion using stored red blood cells. Artificial blood can be made in many ways, such as recombinant biochemical technology, chemical isolation, or synthetic manufacturing. In a major disaster that causes a lot of blood loss, artificial blood may be a life-saving intervention. However, the product now under development and are unable to perform secondary tasks of blood, such as infection prevention. There are two types of artificial blood, which is perfluorocarbon-based and hemoglobin-based. The main purpose of this artificial blood is made specifically to carry carbon dioxide and oxygen throughout the body, although real blood has many other uses. Artificial blood also have a long life shelf compared to a red blood cells.
Material that are used for artificial blood. First, hemoglobin-based oxygen carriers. Hemoglobin-based oxygen carrier represent a category of synthetic blood to transport and supply oxygen to tissues much like the natural hemoglobin found in red blood cells. Second, perfluorocarbon emulsions. Perfluorocarbon are synthetic compounds that can dissolve large amount of gases, including oxygen and carbon dioxide. These compounds can be used to create emulsion that act as oxygen carrier. Third, stem cells. The use of stem cells for artificial blood aims to provide a sustainable source of red blood cells. This approach could help address shortage of donated blood and provide an alternative source of transfusion.
Now, I want to talk about difference and similarities of artificial blood. What is similarities of artificial blood? In an emergency, either type of artificial blood can be employed to swiftly restore blood volume or oxygen carrying capacity. When donated blood is not easily accessible or practical, artificial blood can be used as an alternative to conventional blood transfusion. What is difference of artificial blood? The fundamental distinction is in their function. Oxygen carriers are concerned with oxygen delivery, whereas volume expanders are concerned with raising overall blood volume. Oxygen carriers comprise molecules that may actively bind and release oxygen, simulating hemoglobin's activity. Volume expanders are typically made up of chemicals that increase blood volume while without contributing to oxygen transport.
Why choose artificial blood? First, artificial blood reduces dependency on blood donors, making it easier during an emergency situation. Next, artificial blood is chosen to avoid infections through blood transfer, such as HIV, and reduce the risk of contamination. Furthermore, artificial blood is universally matched to all blood types and able to avoid complication. Last but not least, artificial blood could potentially deliver oxygen faster than real blood during an emergency and may minimize injury to the tissue, particularly during a heart attack.
Advantages and disadvantages of using artificial blood. The first advantage of using artificial blood is it can be stored for a long period of time. Next, it also can be stored at a room temperature. Thirdly, it has no risk of a transfusion reaction caused by mismatched blood type. Lastly, it can be sterilized, eliminating the risk for infection. The first disadvantage of using artificial blood is it can cause hypertension, jaundice, and pain. Secondly, the hemoglobin that is present outside the red blood cell are toxic in nature. Next, it cannot carry out secondary functions of blood such as fighting infections. Lastly, the cost of artificial blood is much higher compared to natural blood.
Importance of artificial blood. First, blood shortages. Artificial blood has the potential to provide a sustainable source of blood. Unlike donated blood, which is reliant on voluntary donation and may face seasonal shortages, artificial blood could be produced consistently to meet demand. Second, emergency situations. Artificial blood could serve as a crucial resource in emergency situations where immediate blood transfusions are required. This is important in cases of accident or surgeries with substantial blood loss, where access to compatible donor blood may be limited.
Furthermore, I will explain about the characteristic of artificial blood. The first one, it must be safe to use and compatible within the human body. Why? This is because this implies that when artificial blood is utilized, blood types shouldn't matter. It also implies that all pathogenic agents, including virus and microbes, may be eliminated from artificial blood through processing. Next, must be capable of carrying oxygen throughout the body and releasing it as required. This is because to reduce the possibility of negative response or consequences, artificial blood should be compatible with a wide range of blood types. It should ideally be compatible with all blood types, removing the requirement for blood typing and cross-matching prior to transfusion. And lastly, must be shelf-stable. This is because artificial blood can be made to store for a longer period of time than natural blood, which has a limited shelf life. This feature is especially helpful in emergency scenarios or places where access to fresh blood supplies is restricted.
Conclusion of artificial blood. In conclusion, we can know that artificial blood is a substitute for the blood cells in the body. Artificial blood is used to carry carbon dioxide and oxygen throughout the body. Though artificial blood is still being researched and developed, as there are several problems that need to be addressed before it can become our new alternative. While progress has been made in creating synthetic red blood cells and developing new methods for oxygen delivery, there are still issues with stability, scalability, and safety that need to be resolved. Additionally, the cost of producing artificial blood is also much higher than a natural blood, which could limit its widespread adoption. However, if these obstacles can be overcome, artificial blood has the potential to revolutionize medical care by providing a safer and more reliable source of blood for patients with chronic diseases or in emergency situations where natural blood is not available.